Hello and welcome back, Lady Joyful here with a video for Sasayaki Glitter, and today I'm going to be showing you how I coloured up this image, which is image number 121, also called the Fairy. This image I will be using to create a shaker easel card, but that will be coming in a second video. I decided to split this into two parts so that it wouldn't be a very long video. So in this video I will be showing you the colouring, and in the other video, which will be linked up in the top right hand corner as well as down below, I will be showing you how to make the easel shaker card. So for now, just the colouring. I started by colouring the skin. I generally start with colouring skin on my images that have people or people-like things, like fairies. When I colour skin tone, I start by putting down my lightest colour all over the area that has the skin, so all over her face and her arms and neck. I then go in with my darkest colour, and here I actually used a purple to add some shading first, and then I went in with my darkest brown colour, and then I go in with my next darkest colour, which is a slightly lighter shade, and I will go over the edges basically of the darker colour I had. So with each subsequent colour I'm bringing the shading more towards the lighter portion of the image, which in this case is the centre, because most of the edge of her face, for example, is in shadow from her hair and her hands. So then once I have worked through all my colours, I will be back to the lightest colour, and I will just go over the whole thing to help that blend back together, and just working it until I am happy with it. And you can see all the colours I have used, the caps are on screen. These are Spectrum Noir Illustrator Markers that I am using, and these may be slightly different if you have the regular Spectrum Noirs, or the originals, or the second generation ones. There are some colour variations between the Illustrator markers and the regular ones, but at least it will give you an idea of what colours you could be using for this. After finishing colouring her skin, I will move on to her hair, and I'm using more browns for her hair, but this time I'm using slightly different ones just to help differentiate it from her skin. I will start with my darkest colour, and I'm using flicking motions to bring the lines across her hair, just following the curve of her hair. You can basically use the lines, the way the hair was drawn, as a guideline. So as I said, I start with my darkest colour and I move in steps towards my lightest colour, and each time I will be bringing the flicks further out and further across the image until they will be meeting in the very centre. And you can, if you like, leave some white areas, but I find that to be a little bit stark for my liking, so I generally will go in just with a very pale shade and use that to fill in those areas. Next I'll move on to colouring the rest of the image, and as I said, I'm going to be turning this into a shaker card, so I'm using the sequins that I had picked out for using in my shaker as a guideline for what colours to use. As you can see, the sequin mix has a lot of yellow tones, so I'm going for yellows for my flowers. I picked a kind of golden yellow which has some orangey tones to it to be my shadow colour, and I'm just laying that in all the areas where the petals overlap, because these would be darkest. I'm then taking my mid-tone yellow shade, which is more of a true yellow, and using that to bring out the shadow areas and fill in the majority of the petals, because I want them to be a kind of intense yellow rather than a light yellow. I'll then take my lightest yellow shade and just fill out the rest of the petals so that they are completely coloured, and I did that same thing on the petals for the bigger flower. For the flower centres, I decided to use some dark browns. These are even darker than the browns that I used for her skin and hair. Most of the flower centre that she is sitting on will be very dark brown, so I don't use my lightest shade there, I just use the darkest two. But the flower at the back has a bit more open space, so I do bring in a third shade to blend that out and give it a bit of a highlight in the centre. I then go back to the two darker shades I used and use the bullet tip on the end of them just to add some stippling into the centre of the flower to give it a bit of texture and interest. Next I will colour the leaves and stem of the flower. I chose some yellow greens for this, this. I felt they went well with the other colours I was using and the colours of the sequins. The darkest areas on this are the stem right up where it meets the flower, and then also I'm colouring the leaves as if they are somewhat curved, so my darkest line is basically going along the veins of the leaves, particularly around the large centre vein on each leaf. And again, I'm using 3 shades here. I tend to use 3 shades for all my colouring. I just find it's a good amount to go with. I will sometimes use 2 if it's a very small area, and then for skin and hair I will probably use more than 3, but everything else tends to have 3. I coloured the little flower in her hair with the same yellows I'd used for the other flowers, and then I'm using the same browns I'd used for the centres of the flowers to colour in her antennae. The last thing to colour is her outfit, and I decided rather than bring in any new colours, I would colour this with the same greens I had used for the stem and leaves. And actually I quite like this because I felt it helped tie her in as if she could disguise herself among the flowers, because her head matches the centre of the flowers and her body matches the stems. On the image I have, there is no line differentiating where her feet end and her outfit begins, so I did it as if it's kind of a all-in-one outfit that covers her feet as well. But the image that's now in the store does have a line there, so yours, if you buy it today for example, yours would be different and you would probably want to colour the feet the same colour as her skin. I added some white highlights to the outfit, the leaves, the flowers, and a few other areas, the freckles on her face for example, just to add some extra interest to her, to the image, and give them a bit of shine. And that will complete the colouring portion of this card. If you want to see the completed card, you can click through to the other video to see that. If you enjoyed this video, do press the like button, and you can subscribe to my video and the Sasayaki Glitter YouTube channel by clicking the buttons on screen. Here are 2 more videos you may be interested in. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!